Day 19 of the Stanley Cup playoffs finished up. We have one team that's giving a handshake, and another team that was giving a $5 moving on to a game 6. Yes. So let's talk about right Town After Dark. Good evening, everyone. It is August 31st, 2020, and my microphone is decided to go out on me again. And you know what? Now you know why there was a little bit of a delay. Anywho, welcome to Teal Town After Dark. This is your live interactive post-game in the playoffs. We do this after every night, so if you want to be part of this show, use the chat option, our super chat option in the YouTube page or the app. And of course, follow us on the social, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, SoundCloud, Reddit, and of course the Discord. With that being said, where am I? Hi there. Yeah, it's been one of those days where it's just the last thing you need is everything to fall apart right before you go on the air. And that happened tonight. Mic, graphics didn't want to work, nothing. So, apologies for the delay. I'm here now. I'm Erik Kuhre. You can follow me at PuckGuy14 on the Twitter and the Instagram. Before anything else geeks out, let's do the jersey of the night right now, shall we? All right. This is one of my favorites actually. It's a game worn jersey, and it was once worn by S.J. Sharkey himself, complete with the hole in the back where his fin would go in. And yes, it's a fin. All right. So, that being said, we had two games in the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. One decided to go, halfway through another game. But, and Jeff Ponder, a good friend at Let's Go Blues Radio, Goodbye Boston. Somebody's very happy about that. And if we could get away with singing Gloria about it, I would absolutely join you in it. And yes, waiting and waiting. I know, I'm sorry. And Corey Emberson, Boston gone. Go Bolts and Goody. Yes. So, yeah, this is one of my favorite jerseys there. So, I not so mid-major. I like to take back what I said about the Avs yesterday. Holy crap. You're right. It's something else to tell you how you can go back from one day to another and have a complete 180, especially in the first period for that matter. Holy crap. Seriously, we'll get to that in just a second. Let's talk about the one that went 2 overtimes, and that's Tampa Bay and Boston tonight in Toronto. It was a back and forth game. Andre Palat, who's just been on a tear lately, gets just a tip. It was Pavelskian tip for his 5th of the playoffs from Shattenkirk and Coleman to make it 1-0 Tampa. David Pastrnak, well, I guess he recovered from Kendall Coyne making fun of him in a coffee commercial. He gets a wide open net. Vasilevsky was way out of position to tie it up at 1-1. Cirelli would get a tip in to make it 2-1 about 12:03 into the third period. And then David Krejci, the veteran for Boston, gets in there to tie it up with 2:33 left in regulation to keep the season alive. And then back and forth, Halak and Vasilevsky just were on a tear there until 14-10 into the second overtime. Victor Hedman takes a shot. Maroon was in front of Halak, and it just gets past the armpit, just the scotch of the armpit of Halak to beat him. Tampa Bay wins 3-2 in double overtime. They are the first team to advance to the second round. It is now it's kind of a waiting game. in regards to Tampa, what they do next, So remains to be seen. We'll get to that scenario in a little bit there, but overall, Tampa nearly had 60% in the face-off circle. Both teams really didn't do much on the power play. They were pretty about even with hits, 56-53 in favor of Tampa, 35-34 in blocks. So shot attempts, aplenty. Vasilevsky had 45 saves on the night, and Halak in a tough position where, let's face it, there will be some criticism from Tuukka Rask from going home because of a family emergency, and there shouldn't be. There is a blue checkmark person on Twitter just going off on Tuukka Rask. I believe Hockey Jerk retweeted him, and it was pretty pathetic. It just makes me wonder, what the hell are you doing, bro? Like, seriously, what the hell are you doing? Stop crying, is what Jerk says, And Mark James is the guy who and I don't know who the hell you are, but to say, as a lifelong Bruins fan, I'm disgusted by your cowardly decision to give up. Who the fuck do you think you are? Like, seriously. You just think because he left because of a family emergency? And Pete Blackburn, quote retweeted him as well. And I'm like, good for you guys, because it's like, seriously, why are you going after the guy? He made a family decision, just like you would make a family decision, and you go home, and he goes home early to be with his family, where it's just, it's just uncalled for, and it's sad. It's really sad to see that some, and I'm going to emphasize this, some Bruins fans are acting this way now that the Bruins are out in 5 games. It just makes no freaking sense, It's just like, come on, people. It is a sport. Not some mid-major, mentioning it. Why are sports the only situation where you can't go to your family? I feel like this happens either a family emergency or a birth of a new child, Well, the Sharks allowed Erik Karlsson to be there with the birth of his child. That he missed opening night against Vegas in Vegas to be there. And usually many do let their players go be there for the birth of their kid. It's ridiculous that some people are criticizing such actions. But getting back to the game, a great game all around. You have to wonder if this is the last game for Zdeno Chara. Maybe just in a Bruins uniform, if he gets another contract. For that matter, Torrey Krug. David Krejci looked down and out at the postgame presser. You kind of have to wonder what this Bruins team will look like in a few months when the new season starts. Is this the sign that they're going to slowly start to change things around in Boston? And that group has been around for quite some time now. You have to wonder, when will those changes happen? As for Tampa, they go back to the Eastern Conference Final for the 4th time in 6 seasons. It is their 6th trip to the Eastern Conference Final in their team history. Year 28, if I'm not mistaken. Kudos to kudos to Tampa Bay. They've done a phenomenal job. I know Steve Yzerman isn't running the ship over there anymore, and I can't think of the current GM's name, but hats off to the Tampa Bay front office. They played a phenomenal job putting this club together. They really have, and it goes to show. And mind you, this is still without Steven Stamkos that they're doing this. This team is on a vengeance to move on and to make amends of what happened last year, where they were embarrassed by Columbus in 4 straight. Now they're in the Eastern Conference Final, and we'll put up the tweet right now from Elliot Friedman, where Per Pierre LeBrun, the Lightning aren't scheduled to travel tomorrow. I'm told they don't have an exact date when they can fly to Edmonton and change bubbles. Elliot Friedman, on top of that, tweeted, there is a scenario where the Eastern Conference Final begins in Toronto if the Islanders clinch tomorrow, or if you're watching this later, on Tuesday, and the Western Series continue. Could play a game or two here before traveling to Edmonton. And the league is really trying to get the series and the playoffs finished really quickly. I mean, it's honest that they are shooting for a December 1st goal to start the next season, and the more time they get to it, the more time they will finish up and move onward. So you could see the Eastern Conference Final start in Toronto, apparently, if the Islanders win. Game 5 on Tuesday night, and it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So, which is so weird. You would start a series in one city and move on cross country, essentially, to Edmonton to finish the series. I kind of find it a little weird, but I don't blame them for trying to get this out of the way. Now, for that matter, the original kind of plan was that families were going to be going to be able to go to the Western Conference Final if they so choose. I believe that's not the case anymore. And that's tough for players who have seen it. I mean, we've seen videos, I think, of Alex Ovechkin coming home and seeing how happy he is with his family as he returns home after being in the bubble for a while. It's going to be interesting to see how that works out. But it's tough for the families. It's tough for the players. And honestly, a little bit more to get it done quicker. I'm sure the players wouldn't mind, although the travel for the Eastern teams to go to Edmonton is probably a little rough. But we'll see how that works. Onward to the game that finished up early. And to those of you who don't have NHL Network and weren't watching and you were waiting for Boston and Tampa to finish up, yikes. Colorado, they were mad. Jared Bednar said that his team was going to come out mad and with vengeance, and boy, howdy did they ever. 4:37 in, Pierre Bellemare gets a goal to make it 1-0 Colorado. And then Colorado would go on to score 4 goals in about 2 minutes and 3 minutes. Burakovsky, McKinnon, Kadri, Rantanen, they all get goals to essentially say, Dallas, you're not clinching tonight. And welcome back, Ben Bishop. And see you later, Ben Bishop. You are going to probably be unfit to play going forward in these playoffs, because that was a nightmare. 3 goals in the first period, and then just fell apart after that on this game. However, Dallas would come back. Can't count them out now. Joe Pavelski would have an interesting night, indeed. He got his 8th from a scramble from Janmark and Gurionov to make it 5-1. And then you started, getting a little interesting here. Miro Heiskanen with his 4th on the power play with 2.5 left in the second period to make it 5-2. You're like, all of a sudden, hey, I remembered Pavelski was in that stunner at Staples with the Sharks when they were down 4-0 and came back to win 6-5. Yeah, and then Andrei Burakovsky gets second of the game just 33 seconds later to make it 6-2 Colorado. That kind of killed the momentum. Yeah, Jamie Benn would add a goal in the third period, but it was too little too late. Dallas loses 6-3. They were frustrated all over the place. Joe Pavelski gets a 10-minute misconduct. He was tripping at an official. It's like, oh man, Pavelski's getting kicked out, really? And not exactly the greatest time if Dallas was making a comeback. Dallas outshot the Avs 18-3. I think at one point they had scoring chances like 34-4 for in the third period alone. It's just shocking. It's just, the first period, Avalanche outshot the Dallas Stars 23-5. Dallas outshoots Colorado 18-3. What is going on in this series? It is now, if I'm not mistaken, looking at all the info here, let's see, we said 42 the other, or like 43 goals in the first 5 games of this series. That's nuts. That's like 1980s hockey on steroids, for that matter. Come on, that is nuts. And again, it goes to show, if Dallas can get to 5 goals, they have a shot. If not, no, I don't think so. They don't make it happen. The question is who's going to play in net? Antoine Khudobin finish up the game in game 6 or game 5. I would think he gets a start in game 6 after everything that's gone on. Michael Hutchinson got the start for Colorado tonight, as Francouz was unfit to play. This was a guy that Toronto ran out of town. They need to make a trade to get Jack Campbell because you need a tandem, not just to go into the playoffs with, just in case, but also that last stretch, kind of like with James Reimer came to San Jose late in the year for Martin Jones. You have that last stretch, that you want to get to. Well, of course, the last stretch never occurred because of COVID. But now, Michael Hutchinson, you have to go back to him. He had 38 saves. Wait, no, I'm sorry. He had 31 saves on the night. You got to go back to Hutchinson. And there are already nightmares for the Leafs. You're seeing the Islanders 1 win away from advancing to the Eastern Conference Final on Leafs ice. And the head of The Athletic in Canada, James Myrtle, saying Leafs can't score goals and are eliminated before playoffs in a pandemic play-in. No, not painful enough, says the hockey gods. Kadri for Colorado, Kumara for the Islanders, along with and Lou, all on huge playoff heaters. No, not painful enough. Michael Hutchinson leads new team to deep postseason run. Can you twist a knife any further for the Toronto Maple Leafs? It's so sad. And again, I feel for you Leafs fans, especially Steve Dangle. Steve, again, if you're watching, I would love for you to be on the podcast, please. I tell me what I need to do. I am just saying, please, Steve, come on. I know you have a little kid right now, so I totally understand. Not right away. I'm sure letting Mrs. Dangle, get some rest. Let precious Leo go in. Just saying. But at Puck Guy 14, see it right there. And let's figure out a time. Okay. So, Joe Pavelski takes a 10-minute misconduct. Now, granted, he is no Mr. Lady Bing. He can get underneath the skin at times. But my goodness, he was really upset tonight. Taking a slashing call on Kadri. Of course, Kadri, was up to his antics as well. Mind you. But, sorry, I was doing my best Jamie Penn impersonation there. I would show you that, but I can't. But it's on the Teal Town USA Twitter, so check that out and follow our Twitter feed. But he had a slashing call. He had a goal, and then he was tripping at the officials later on, where he left the game. It's plain and simple as that. So, really an interesting night from Joe Pavelski. And Curtis Pichelka from the Mercury News found the last time Joe Pavelski had a 10-minute misconduct, and it was at March 3rd, 2009. Ironically, it was Dallas in San Jose taking on the Sharks. And Pavelski with a 10-minute misconduct at the end of it there. So it has happened. It's only been 11 years since it happened, of course. So interesting one there, indeed, for that one. So with that, let's take a look at the brackets. We'll be getting out west, where Dallas wins Game 5, and they force a Game 6. That'll be Wednesday. Currently looking to see if they have made an official start time for that one, because with Boston and Tampa finished up, it looks like they will be the only game to play on Wednesday now. So, yep, nothing has come out just yet. I'm looking to see if any of the sources are getting it in. Looks like nothing yet for the info yet for game 6. It's going to be Wednesday for sure. My guess, it's going to be the main time, which would probably be around 5 o'clock on Wednesday, since they would be the only game. Vegas and Vancouver, Game 5 of that series will be Tuesday at 6:45 p.m. Vancouver needs this badly, very badly. So, and like Felix says in the chat, Vancouver, please come back and win the series. It would be great if they can. Wishful thinking about it, though. I mean, let's be honest here. Wishful thinking on that one. So that's your Western bracket. Over in the East, you have the Islanders on the verge. They play tomorrow against Philly at 4 p.m. They're the first game of the doubleheader on Tuesday. The Islanders lead 3-1. Again, we will flash back to the Friedman tweet where there is a scenario where the Eastern Conference Final begins in Toronto if New York clinches tomorrow and the Western Series continue, which they are tonight. Could play a game or two here before traveling to Edmonton. So that'll be interesting to see there. Again, Tampa wins the series 4-1 over Boston. They advance to their Eastern Conference Final, their 4th in 6 seasons. So that series is done, and for now, they will get at least a couple of days rest. Again, the league is trying feverishly to finish these series up so they can move it on and get the cup presented as quickly as possible before next season, which is tentatively scheduled to begin on December 1st. Now, why do I say I know that? Well, talking with my ticket rep today, because, yours truly is anxiously waiting when we're going to do Shark Packs. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I mean, there are fans, Sharks 365, who are paying monthly installments since February, mind you, of their seats. Now, it's I mean, they're still paying money, and it's August. I mean, you've paid half of your season already, and you don't even know if you're going to get a full season in. But from what I'm here for her, yes, we have a tentative start set for December 1st, but as of right now, we do not have any plans or seating or prices. Personally believe once the playoffs are concluded, we will be able to know more on the start dates and how seating is going to look for next season. So that'll be interesting to see. Felix saying, feel like this might be the fastest Stanley Cup award maybe ever. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That would be the case. Bernard saying NHL is talking 4 hub cities next year. Yeah, I've been hearing about that a lot too. Would all 4 be in Canada? I wouldn't be surprised. 2 in the West, 2 in the East. or 3 in the West, 1 in the East. You could see it like that. I mean, Vancouver was on the verge, but they wanted to try to have 1 in the West and 1 in the East. So maybe Vancouver, Edmonton, Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, Winnipeg. I mean, one of those 3. I mean, that makes sense to me. And with the border being closed, who knows? I mean, you can't get down there. I mean, MLS is having that issue right now. The Canadian teams are playing each other in MLS. It doesn't seem like that's fair, but that's who they're playing up against for now until everything gets resolved. So that's what's going on in that part of everything. Now, we're going to do a wraparound. We're going to do a wraparound because we have some Sharks news, and it's not exactly, playoff wise. So, let's do a Sharks wraparound.
Have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around.
It's wraparound, for crying out loud. Jeez, they still don't get it, even in the off season for the Sharks. Sharks had some transactions go down. Of course, again, if you want to be part of the show, feel free to join us in the YouTube Super Channel, the page, or the app for that one. But a number of players are off to Europe to train, including, Josef Kornash. He, and along with forward Christoph Hrabek, are going to the Czech Extraliga. You have Fredrik Handemark going to Malmo in the Swedish Hockey League. Timur Bergramov going to TPS in the Finnish League. We knew about Jonathan Dahlin going to Timrå in the Swedish second tier. So that one was given. And of course, in addition, the Sharks prospects are also still skating in training camp with their respective European clubs. Santeri Hataka with Elvis in Finland, and then Yegor Spiridonov and Emil Galimov are with SKA St. Petersburg in Russia. And we already knew about, Joe Thornton already in Switzerland. He's going to do that. And a lot of these are going to be just for training purposes and playing over there to stay fresh. The league hasn't given the okay for the 7 teams that did not make the playoffs to reconvene. Definitely a concern of sorts because most of these players haven't touched the ice since the last game of the season in March against Chicago. So it's frustrating, and haven't heard anything about what's going to go on. Like, will the Sharks, along with the 6 others, LA, Anaheim, Detroit, Ottawa, New Jersey, Buffalo, will they get some extra minicamp time? Because, all these teams got to play, got 2-3 weeks worth of camp time before the season started up again. I mean, come on. They need to get things moving here. So you're seeing a lot of them take the exodus over to Europe for the time being until the league gets the okay to move on forward. So that's a fluid thing. That's a fluid situation. Once the Sharks get the okay that they can skate and play out here, they're coming back home right away. So, of course, there's going to be also, a quarantine of sorts because they were over in Europe. So we'll see what's going on. It will be interesting to see what happens down the road. So, with that, just about the half-hour mark, and that's where we try to keep these shows for right now. So, is this hinting that Thornton returns next year? No. But we also know that, Joe Thornton, San Jose Sharks legend, is skating in Switzerland. I mean, and he has some ties there, especially during the lockouts, and that's where he met his wife. So, it's something to be noteworthy, and if he does come back, he comes back. If not, well, then we'll keep an eye on him too. I mean, Joe deserves that net recognition. So remains to be seen on what happens with Jumbo there, along with some others. Of course, HockeyChurch kind of first broke the Yoel Shellman news. The Sharks made that official today, signing a 2-year contract. So Yoel Shellman will be in there as well. So we'll see what happens with that. But in case you missed anything and want to watch this again, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, you name it, you love it. And of course, always available at tealtownusa.com. So again, a couple of games tomorrow. Philly and Islanders at 4 p.m. And then Vegas and Vancouver at 6:45. We could see 2 more handshakes go down and go from there. Dallas and Colorado will play Game 6 on Wednesday. Time to be determined, but wouldn't be surprised if it is at 5 o'clock for the national broadcasters. And that's when we will reconvene you here tomorrow for those 2 games, Vegas, Vancouver, and Islanders and Flyers. And we'll recap that along with anything that comes down Sharks-wise. We'll keep you in touch with that. But until then, make sure you follow us on the social media. Make sure you subscribe down below. Check out our other content as well. We did a lot more during the pause. So check it all out of our coverage of the San Jose Sharks and Barracuda. And until tomorrow, keep it real. Keep it teal. Keep it real teal. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a great night. We will see you tomorrow.